Rounding whole numbers to the nearest thousand, it's important here to be familiar with how to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 and to the nearest 100. If you're not sure about those, look at those videos first. When identifying a number that's a multiple of 1,000, you're looking at a whole number that has at least 3 zeros on the end. So a 0 in the ones, a 0 in the tens, and a 0 in the hundreds column. A number that has more than 3 zeros on the end, that also has zeros in the 10,000s and the 100,000s and so on, they are also multiples of 1,000. So all these numbers, you'll notice they're whole numbers, they have at least 3 zeros on the end. They have a 0 in the ones, a 0 in the tens, and a 0 in the hundreds. They're all multiples of 1,000. Rounding 1,400 to the nearest thousand. We've located 1,400 on the number line, and if you look at the multiples of 1,000 either side of 1,400, you can see you have 1,000 and 2,000. You can also see that 1,400 is only 4 jumps away from 1,000, whereas it's 6 jumps away from 2,000. We round it to the nearest thousand, and that's 1,000. 6,600 rounded to the nearest thousand. Here it is on the line, either side. The multiples of 1,000 we have are 6,000 and 7,000, and you can see that 6,600 is 4 jumps away from 7,000, whereas it's 6 jumps away from 6,000. So this time, to round to the nearest thousand, we need to round up to 7,000. These lines are all very well to illustrate what's happening, but when you're doing this in maths, you don't get time to draw a line for every single number, particularly when they get this big. It's a much better idea to look at what's happening to the digits. Here we're going to round 8,500 to the nearest multiple of 1,000. Because we're looking at rounding it to the nearest thousand, we identify the digit that shows us what's in the thousands column, and here that's 8. We have 8,000. Remember from the previous videos that we have a number that decides what's going to happen to the multiple that we're rounding to. Beside the thousand is the hundreds column, and we have 5 hundreds. Remember the rule that if beside the number that you're rounding you have 5 or more, you round it up. So when that 5 hundreds becomes a 0, so that we get 3 zeros on the end of a multiple of 1,000, that 8,000 is going to be rounded up to 9,000. So 8,500 rounded to the nearest thousand is 9,000. Here's one for you to try. 2,568 rounded to the nearest thousand. Pause the video, have a go. Rounding to the nearest thousand, so we locate that in the number, and that's 2. We look at the number beside that, which decides whether that 2 stays the same or goes up to 3,000. The number that's deciding is 5. Remember, if it's 5 or more, we round up. So when that 5 hundreds, 6 tens and 8 ones become zeros, that 2,000 will become 3,000. Now pause the video and have a go at rounding 7,299 to the nearest thousand. Rounding to the nearest thousand, and here that's 7,000. Looking at the number beside that, it's 200. If it's 4 or less, we round down. This time, when the 200s, the 9 tens and the 9 ones become 0, that 7,000 will stay the same. This time we have a number that's 24,000 978, and we're rounding to the nearest thousand. Even though we have something in the 10,000s column, it's the thousands that we're focusing on, so we're still circling that digit that's in the thousands column, and that's 4,000. And we're still looking at the column before that, which is the hundreds, to decide whether that 4,000 stays as 4,000 or goes up to 5,000. We have a 9 in the hundreds, which means we're going to round up. When the 900, the 7 tens and the 8 ones change to 0, that 4,000 will go up to 5,000. Notice the 20,000 won't change. We have 25,000. Here's one for you to try. Pause the video, have a go. 65,021 rounded to the nearest thousand. Find the thousands column in here, which is the 5 digit. Look at the one next to it. That's a 0. That means we're going to round down. So when we have a multiple of 1,000 at the end of this number, that 5 is going to stay the same. 65,000. This one's a little more tricky. Pause the video, have a go. 19,760 rounded to the nearest thousand. We've located the thousands digit, that's 9,000, and the number that decides whether that stays as 9 or rounds up is 700. We're going to round up. So when that 760 becomes all zeros, that 9 is going to round up. But because 9 is the highest digit, it's going to go to 0. That means we need to look this time at what's in the 10,000s column, because that will need to change. 19,760 rounded to the nearest thousand is 20,000.